Every generation has its symbols of progress, those humble machines that reshape how people move, think, and connect. Some do it with brute power, others with luxury. But a rare few win hearts through pure ingenuity. Imagine a car so minimal it looked like an accident in slow motion, yet so brilliantly designed that it mobilized millions who had never owned an automobile before. It was mocked, underestimated, and then quietly became one of the longest-running automotive success stories in history. This is the story of how a simple idea outlasted entire eras, how utility turned into identity, and how charm became engineering. Stay tuned. Hit like if you love unexpected legends, subscribe for more deep dives, and tell us in the comments which timeless classic you want explored next. The Citroen 2CV 1960 was never meant to impress. It was meant to work. When it first appeared, France was still rebuilding, and mobility was a luxury. Most families could not afford large sedans or sporty coupes. The country needed something honest, light, and adaptable. A machine that could carry farmers through rain-soaked fields, students across villages, and postmen down gravel lanes. The 2CV answered that need perfectly. It began as an experiment in minimalism, a test of what happens when a car is reduced to pure function. Citroën engineers called it a people's tool, not a toy. Its mission was to provide comfort over rough ground, exceptional fuel economy, and easy maintenance in a world where garages were rare and spare parts were a matter of creativity. The 1960 version refined that mission to near perfection. By that year, the Citroën 2CV 1960 had matured into a cultural fixture. Its two-cylinder air-cooled engine was barely stronger than a motorcycle's, but it was indestructible in daily life. The suspension, soft as a cradle, made cobblestones feel like carpet. It could drive across a plowed field without cracking an egg in a basket on the seat. That image became legendary, not because it was flashy, but because it was true. Engineers designed the body with removable panels, so owners could replace a door or fender at home using basic tools. Everything served a purpose. Nothing was added for show. It was an architecture of necessity that turned into a statement of character. For Citroën, the 2CV 1960 was more than transportation. It was proof that innovation does not always mean sophistication. Sometimes, it means stripping everything down to what matters most. The thin steel, exposed hinges, and minimalist dashboard created a design language of honesty. Even the canvas roof doubled as a cargo extension when rolled back, letting drivers carry tall loads that would never fit in a traditional car. What began as rural utility became an urban symbol of freedom. Young drivers in Paris and Lyon adopted it not because it was cheap, but because it represented authenticity in an age obsessed with status. The Citroën 2CV 1960 bridged France's agricultural past with its modern identity. It was both tractor and companion, both joke and genius. It turned the act of driving into an experience that felt human-sized, slow enough to see the world and light enough to feel every road texture. When others boasted horsepower, the 2CV quietly offered endurance. It could run all day on little fuel, survive brutal weather, and keep moving where bigger cars bogged down. It was not about speed. It was about persistence. It was not about appearance. It was about spirit. This philosophy built trust with a generation that had seen enough promises broken by complexity. Every detail of the Citroën 2CV 1960 tells a story. The single wiper arm powered by the speedometer cable, the simple lever controlling air and fuel mixture, the seats made from metal tubes and fabric slings, all chosen for simplicity and repairability. Owners learned its rhythm and quirks like you learn the habits of a friend. You could fix it in a field, start it with a crank if the battery failed, and push it by hand when needed. That intimacy between driver and machine is almost lost today. The 2CV was the opposite of disposable technology. It invited understanding rather than dependence. Yet simplicity did not mean crude. The Citroën 2CV 1960 was engineered with an elegance that only looks accidental. The long travel suspension used interconnected arms and coils, giving incredible compliance on rough surfaces. The body panels were light but cleverly curved for strength. The engine cooling was designed to stay stable even at low speeds in hot weather, a detail few noticed but everyone benefited from. The design was tuned by need, not by marketing committees. This functional beauty is why designers and engineers still study the 2CV as a masterclass in purpose-driven design. Over time, the Citroen 2CV 1960 began to stand for more than mobility. It represented a new kind of freedom. Affordable, approachable, and enduring. Students used it to chase adventures across Europe. Families used it to connect rural lives with growing cities. It was a car that asked for almost nothing and gave back everything it could. Its slowness became part of its charm. In a world that moves faster each year, there was something refreshing about a machine that demanded patience. It reminded people that travel was not just about reaching a place, but about enjoying the space between destinations. The 2CV also reflected a deeper cultural idea: resilience. France had endured hardship, and this car embodied a nation rebuilding from the ground up. Its simplicity became symbolic of self-reliance. Every scratch told a story of survival. Even the sound of its tiny twin engine became part of the soundtrack of rural life. Mechanics loved it because it refused to quit. Owners loved it because it refused to pretend. The Citroen 2CV 1960 stood at a perfect intersection of economy, design, and spirit. A car that carried the hopes of ordinary people without ever pretending to be more than it was. In the context of automotive history, few cars have such purity of purpose. The Citroen 2CV 1960 did not chase trends or luxury. It defined its own category by existing at the opposite extreme. It invited imitation, but no rival captured its balance of engineering humility and human warmth. It became proof that clever design can thrive outside convention, that success can come from listening to what people truly need rather than what markets think they want. Even now, when we look back at its corrugated metal and bare interior, we see something rare: a design untouched by ego. As the years passed, the Citroen 2CV 1960 became a snapshot of an era when resourcefulness mattered more than polish. It was not perfect. It was purposeful. It was noisy, slow, and thin, yet endlessly adaptable. Every corner of its structure reflected an understanding of real life. The potholes, the dirt roads, the improvised repairs. It was not built for the showroom floor. It was built for the world outside it. And that is exactly where it earned its legend. By the time the Citroen 2CV 1960 settled into the public imagination, it was no longer just a car. It was a way of life. It represented a mindset that valued practicality over polish, substance over style. Every journey in it became an act of quiet defiance against excess. Its simplicity created an emotional bond between driver and machine that went beyond mere transportation. You did not just drive a 2CV. You experienced a philosophy on wheels. That mindset would soon be tested as the world around it changed dramatically. The 1960s were an age of acceleration. Cities grew faster, highways stretched farther, and consumer tastes turned toward power and comfort. The Citroen 2CV 1960, with its humble engine and soft suspension, seemed like a relic even in its prime. Yet it survived because it adapted without betraying its essence. Citroen engineers tweaked materials, improved reliability, and added subtle conveniences, but the core remained pure. They knew that the car's charm came from its honesty. Any attempt to dress it up would break the spell. It became a quiet statement of individuality amid growing conformity. For those who owned a Citroen 2CV 1960, the experience was deeply personal. Driving it meant accepting imperfection, but also discovering freedom. The car asked its driver to participate, to understand its quirks, to listen to the rhythm of its engine. There was no isolation from the road, no filtered feedback through electronics. It was tactile, mechanical, and alive. That authenticity turned each trip into an adventure. You could feel the suspension breathe, hear the engine pulse, and smell the countryside through the canvas top. In a sense, the 2CV made driving human again. Even critics eventually softened. What they once dismissed as underpowered and primitive became admired for endurance and personality. The Citroen 2CV 1960 embodied the principle that clever design could outperform brute force. While other cars competed in horsepower, it competed in reliability and simplicity. Owners told stories of driving across continents with little more than a wrench and spare plugs. Its mechanics were so transparent that entire communities grew around maintaining and modifying them. The car created not just mobility, but a culture of self-sufficiency. This culture revealed the deeper genius behind the Citroen 2CV 1960. It empowered ordinary people. It democratized engineering in the same way the bicycle democratized movement. People who never imagined owning a car suddenly could, and they learned how it worked. In that knowledge came confidence. The car's minimalism encouraged curiosity rather than fear of complexity. It was a teaching tool as much as a machine. Generations of drivers discovered their mechanical instincts thanks to this simple, forgiving design. The 2CV's visual identity also contributed to its appeal. Its curved lines, exposed bolts, and fabric roof were unlike anything else on the road. Some saw ugliness. Others saw honesty. Its shape seemed almost agricultural, yet that rawness became its beauty. The Citroen 2CV 1960 refused to conform to aerodynamic trends or luxury cues. It did not chase fashion. It became one. That kind of integrity made it timeless. Even as chrome-filled sedans faded into history, the 2CV looked as relevant as ever because it had nothing to hide. In the countryside, the Citroen 2CV 1960 was a hero. Farmers used it to haul milk cans, tools, and livestock. Students packed it with tents and drove to the coast. Craftsmen relied on it for daily work. Its suspension soaked up ruts that would stop heavier vehicles. It was light enough to cross bridges that larger cars avoided. And when it rained, its simplicity shined again. Fewer electronics meant fewer failures. Its air-cooled engine made it indifferent to mud, cold, or heat. It was a machine that never overpromised, which made its dependability all the more profound. Urban France found its own use for the 2CV. The Citroen 2CV 1960 became an icon of the left bank, a vehicle for artists, writers, and free spirits. It symbolized non-conformity and modest rebellion. It was the anti-status car, a rolling expression of freedom from material obsession. Owning one said something subtle but powerful. You valued experience over image. It also connected generations. Parents who once relied on it for survival later watched their children adopt it as a statement of individuality. Few vehicles have managed to bridge such different worlds. Globally, the Citroen 2CV 1960 achieved something rare for a niche design. It traveled well. Versions were built in several countries, adjusted for local conditions but always recognizable. Its universal simplicity transcended borders. Drivers in South America, Africa, and Asia found it just as practical as those in Europe. It became a global ambassador of resourcefulness. Where roads were scarce or fuel expensive, the 2CV proved that progress did not always require power. Sometimes, it required humility and ingenuity. Technically, the Citroen 2CV 1960 was an object lesson in mechanical restraint. Its two-cylinder engine rarely exceeded 30 horsepower, but it delivered efficiency most cars could not match. Its lightweight frame kept demands minimal. Its suspension offered comfort unmatched at low speeds, and its aerodynamics, though odd, were sufficient for its mission. Every gram mattered. Every component was judged by necessity. This was engineering in its purest form, long before efficiency became a buzzword. Citroën engineers achieved sustainability decades before the term was fashionable. As the decade moved forward, the 2CV began to face new challenges. Governments tightened safety standards, consumers expected comfort, and highways demanded higher speeds. Yet even as the world modernized, the Citroen 2CV 1960 remained relevant to those who valued simplicity. It was never designed to dominate the future. It was designed to endure the present. Its longevity became its statement. Each year it survived felt like a quiet victory for minimalism. The car that looked temporary proved permanent. The car that seemed outdated became timeless. The endurance of the Citroen 2CV 1960 was not accidental. It came from a deep understanding of human behavior. People do not always want more. Sometimes they want better balance. The 2CV offered that balance. It allowed its owner to engage with travel at a human pace, to notice the world rather than rush past it. It carried families through milestones, students through discovery, and workers through decades of daily life. It was not glamorous, but it was genuine. And in that authenticity lay a kind of elegance that luxury could not buy. As industrial progress accelerated, the 2CV became a mirror. It reflected what was being lost in the pursuit of comfort. Connection. People realized that driving could be joyful even without power steering or electronics. The Citroen 2CV 1960 taught patience and presence. It rewarded attention. It showed that reliability was not only a technical achievement but an emotional one. You could trust it, not because it was advanced, but because it was understandable. And trust, once built, never goes out of style. By the 1970s and 1980s, the Citroen 2CV 1960 had evolved from everyday transport into a cultural touchstone. It was no longer simply a means of getting from one place to another. It was a reflection of lifestyle, values, and memory. Younger generations saw it through nostalgia, older ones through gratitude. In a world shifting toward excess, the car's honesty became its rebellion. While others added layers of technology, the 2CV remained refreshingly analog, a living link to a simpler past. It was proof that charm could endure long after trends faded. Collectors began to recognize the Citroen 2CV 1960 as a design artifact worth preserving. Not for its rarity, millions were made, but for its character. Each dent, each squeak told a story. Enthusiasts restored them not to showroom perfection, but to working authenticity. The patina was part of the appeal. A 2CV with faded paint and a rumbling engine had more life than many polished exotics. It represented continuity. The cars connected generations through the shared act of keeping them alive, one repair at a time. As automotive technology raced forward, the Citroen 2CV 1960 became a quiet form of resistance. It refused to be intimidated by complexity. Its mechanical simplicity became a teaching tool for a new wave of enthusiasts seeking a hands-on relationship with their vehicles. It reminded people that progress should serve the driver, not replace them. Every nut and bolt could be understood, every sound interpreted. It was a kind of automotive literacy that modern machines rarely allow. Those who learned to drive and repair a 2CV carried that confidence into every other part of life. The emotional bond between people and the Citroen 2CV 1960 deepened through storytelling. Families passed them down as heirlooms. Friends took road trips across borders, sleeping under its rolled-back roof. Artists used them as canvases. Small villages used them as parade mascots. The car transcended its function and became a character in its own right. Its gentle motion, familiar engine tone, and comical lean in corners made it more companion than object. In an age when most machines fade into anonymity, the 2CV kept its personality intact. Citroen's decision to keep building the 2CV long after it seemed obsolete turned out to be prophetic. It showed that longevity can become a brand's greatest strength. The Citroen 2CV 1960 stood as a reminder that cars can serve people rather than impress them. Its success was not measured by sales figures alone, but by loyalty and affection. Decades after its introduction, owners still gathered for rallies where hundreds of 2CVs lined up, each one telling a personal story of endurance. It was a celebration not of perfection, but of perseverance. In many ways, the Citroen 2CV 1960 anticipated modern sustainability ideals. Its minimal resource use, reparable construction, and exceptional fuel efficiency aligned with values that would only become mainstream half a century later. It embodied the concept of doing more with less. Long before recycling and eco-conscious design became corporate talking points, this modest French car was living that philosophy on dusty roads and narrow city streets. The car's longevity meant fewer replacements, less waste, and a smaller footprint, all achieved without slogans or campaigns. Even as the last 2CVs left production, their spirit continued to influence design. Modern city cars that emphasize efficiency and simplicity owe an unspoken debt to that 1960 vision. Engineers study its suspension as a model of comfort without complexity. Designers analyze its proportions to understand how friendliness can be communicated through form. The Citroen 2CV 1960 was not about nostalgia. It was about timeless problem-solving. It proved that when design and empathy meet, the result transcends generations. The car's influence also extended into popular culture. It became a fixture in films that celebrated authenticity and travel. Its quirky appearance made it instantly recognizable, but its symbolic weight carried deeper meaning. It often appeared as the underdog's vehicle, a trusted partner that succeeds through endurance rather than speed. That cinematic presence helped the Citroen 2CV 1960 stay visible even to those who had never driven one. It turned into an emblem of optimism, humor, and persistence. Economically, the Citroen 2CV 1960 played a role that cannot be overstated. It gave mobility to those who could not dream of owning a car before. It supported rural economies by connecting small farms to markets. It allowed students to commute to universities and workers to reach distant jobs. It democratized opportunity in post-war Europe. When seen through that lens, the 2CV was not just a product, it was infrastructure. It carried a generation into modernity without leaving them behind financially or socially. The last production years of the Citroen 2CV 1960 lineage felt like a farewell tour. Yet even as newer cars replaced it on roads, it refused to disappear. People restored them, traded parts, and kept driving them daily. Their continued presence reminded everyone that durability can be a design goal, not just an accident. In museums, the 2CV sits alongside icons of luxury and performance, yet it represents something rarer: purpose-driven design for the common good. It stands for the belief that accessibility and elegance can coexist. In reflecting on the Citroen 2CV 1960, it is impossible not to feel admiration for its endurance. Few vehicles have managed to remain relevant across so many decades, markets, and cultures. Its endurance is not measured in mileage alone, but in memories created and lives touched. It carried letters, groceries, dreams, and families. It was as much a witness to history as it was a participant in it. The fact that many still run today, decades after leaving the factory, speaks to a level of craftsmanship rarely matched. Ultimately, the legacy of the Citroen 2CV 1960 is about human connection. It connected people to places, people to each other, and drivers to their machines. It asked very little and gave everything it could. It proved that joy could come from restraint, that beauty could come from function, and that progress could be gentle. When you see one today, rattling down a quiet road, you are not just watching a car. You are seeing a piece of living philosophy, still teaching the same lesson it taught in 1960. Simplicity endures. The story of the Citroen 2CV 1960 closes not with an ending, but with a continuation. Even decades after production stopped, the car remains alive on the roads, in garages, and in the imagination of people who value what it stood for. Its presence at car meets, its sound echoing through small towns, and its familiar shape in countryside driveways all remind us that good design does not age. It adapts. The Citroen 2CV 1960 survives because it offered something permanent in a world built on temporary things. At its heart, the Citroen 2CV 1960 was a study in empathy. Every design decision came from understanding the real lives of drivers. It did not seek to impress. It sought to serve. In that sense, it anticipated modern user-centered design decades before the term existed. The comfort of its suspension, the accessibility of its controls, the repairability of its structure, all were acts of respect for the user. That respect built loyalty deeper than any advertising campaign could. It turned customers into caretakers, owners into storytellers. Its social impact endures as well. The Citroen 2CV 1960 gave independence to millions who otherwise would have remained on foot or bicycle. It allowed small businesses to grow, families to connect, and students to chase education beyond walking distance. That democratization of mobility reshaped rural France and echoed across Europe. Every road it traveled carried more than passengers. It carried progress, dignity, and hope. In that light, the 2CV was not simply an engineering success. It was a cultural achievement. Looking at it now, surrounded by vehicles layered in software and automation, the Citroen 2CV 1960 feels almost revolutionary again. It reminds us that connection matters more than computation, that driving can still be a dialogue between person and machine. There is something calming about a car that reveals its mechanics openly, that invites you to participate in its life rather than just use it. That participation keeps it alive today. Mechanics teach apprentices on it, artists photograph it, travelers seek it out for slow, intentional journeys through quiet landscapes. Its lessons remain relevant to the automotive world of today. Efficiency is no longer just a technical challenge. It is an ethical one. The 2CV's philosophy, lightweight, sustainable, purposeful, offers a roadmap for modern mobility. Engineers rediscover the wisdom of designing for repair, not replacement. Designers revisit the appeal of simplicity that invites interaction rather than dependence. In this way, the Citroen 2CV 1960 continues to influence ideas about the future, reminding us that innovation does not always mean adding more. Sometimes, it means understanding enough. The endurance of the Citroen 2CV 1960 also shows that emotion is part of engineering. People remember how it made them feel. Safe, free, capable. They remember its smell, its sound, its rhythm on old roads. These memories are not accidents. They are the result of a design that never separated function from feeling. It was practical, but never cold. It was humble, but never dull. That warmth is why it remains beloved long after faster, flashier cars have faded into obscurity. Every surviving Citroen 2CV 1960 is a moving piece of history, a bridge between analog craftsmanship and digital design. It speaks quietly of endurance, creativity, and community. It asks nothing more than care, and gives back timeless joy. In a marketplace obsessed with the new, it proves that value can come from the familiar. Its life is a testament to how good ideas resist extinction. So when you see a Citroen 2CV 1960 rolling gently along a back road, remember that you are witnessing a conversation across generations. A farmer's invention turned into a student's adventure, which became a collector's treasure. It carries all of that with grace. And perhaps that is the real reason it outlived generations. Because it was never about the machine itself, but about what it made possible. The Citroen 2CV 1960 remains a reminder that progress is not always about acceleration. Sometimes it is about appreciation. It teaches that utility can coexist with beauty, that simplicity can carry depth, and that humility can endure longer than spectacle. Its story continues wherever curiosity meets motion. And as long as there are people who believe that less can be more, the 2CV will keep rolling forward. Slowly, steadily, beautifully. Just as it always has.